Good morning. Can everybody hear me all right?
Good morning. Yes, I can.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Good morning.
Let's give everybody a couple more minutes. Do the parties that are present have any housekeeping matters that they'd like to discuss before we go on the record?
I have one.
Mr. Herman?
Uh, Hearing examiner Gedko has scheduled a pre-hearing conference for 2:30 today in another matter. I expect we'll be done by then, but in the event this runs into 2:30, I'll ask to be excused for that time.
And that'll be fine. Yeah, I also imagine we'll be done before then. But we can also ensure that if for some reason we do run that long, you've got 10 minutes, Mr. Reed, and so your questioning should be done by then anyway, and Mr. Elatori. We'll make sure that it works out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Ms. Ash Hoyman, are you prepared to go on the record?
I am. I just have one question. I'm assuming the gentleman that's named attorney is Mr. Atencio?
Yes, apologies about that.
That's all right. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
All right. Thank you. All right. Good morning to everyone. The time's 9 a.m. and we're now on the record. This is the time and place set for the evidentiary hearing in the matter of Public Service Company of New Mexico's application for approval of its 2027 Electric Energy Efficiency and Load Management Program Plan, Profit Incentive and Revision to Tariff Rider number 16. This case has been docketed as case number 26-00000074. Public notice of today's hearing was made on May 20th, 2026 in the Albuquerque Journal, as well as being published on PNM's website and the Commission's public notices portion of our website. My name is Jocelyn Barrett. I'm the Chief Hearing Examiner for the Public Regulation Commission. I'll be presiding over this hearing today, and I'll be eventually writing the recommendation that will go to the commissioners. The hearing is being transcribed by our court reporter. It's also being live streamed to the public on YouTube. Any witnesses should follow the hearing on YouTube until it's time for their testimony, at which point I will admit them to the Zoom. And all parties are required to turn off their camera feed and their sound feed during any breaks and any other time that they are instructed to do so by the hearing examiner. For the sake of the record, let's do our entries of appearance. We'll start with PNM.
Good morning, Christopher Atencio for PNM.
Good morning. And for commission staff? Public Regulation Commission staff?
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. This is Ryan Friedman on behalf of staff.
And I see Mr. Cryinkamp as well.
Yes, good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Two of us for PRC advocacy staff this morning. John Crankamp is the other one.
All right, thank you. Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Keith Herman on behalf of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority.
And Coalition for Clean Affordable Energy.
Morning, Hearing Examiner Barrett, Kara Lynch for Coalition for Clean Affordable Energy.
Good morning. All right, I'll just note for the record that there was no public comment provided either through our E360 docketing system or at any meetings for this case. I anticipate this is probably going to be closer to a half day than a full day hearing. I haven't imposed any time restrictions on cross-examination or anything like that. The parties did agree ahead of time to an order for cross-examination and witnesses, which is just fine. We'll take a morning break for the sake of our court reporter. If we start getting close to lunchtime, we can discuss as a group what we want to do at that point. If we need to take a break, then we will. And having already asked the parties before we went on the record if there were any preliminary matters, I don't see any. So with all of that said and done, we can start the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and we will begin with PNM's witnesses. So Mr. Atencio, if you are prepared, please present your first witness.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. PNM's first witness is Mr. Alexander Reedon. I believe he's there and ready to be sworn in.
Wonderful. Good morning, Mr. Reedon. Ms. Hyman?
Mr. Reedon, would you raise your right hand, sir? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You're muted, sir. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Reedon. Would you please state your name and job title for the record?
Yes, my name is Alexander Reedon. I am the Energy Efficiency Program Manager and Development at PNM.
Do you have before you what have been labeled as PNM Exhibits 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, just give me a minute. Yeah, I do.
Can you briefly tell me what are these documents?
PNM Exhibit 1 is the application for the 2027 Electric Energy Efficiency Program Plan. It also includes various documents related to that plan. PNM Exhibit 2 is my direct testimony and the exhibits related to that. And PNM Exhibit 3 is my rebuttal testimony and associated documents.
Thank you. Did you prepare or supervise preparation of these exhibits?
I did.
Are they true and accurate accounts to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Do you have any additions or corrections to any of these exhibits today?
No.
If I asked you the same questions today, would your answers be the same?
Yes, they would.
Thank you, Mr. Eden. Madam Hearing Examiner, I move admission of PNM Exhibits 1, 2, and 3 into the record.
Any objections to PNM moving exhibits 1, 2, and 3 into the record?
No
Hearing
objection.
none? No objection? Hearing no objections, I will admit the exhibits.
Thank you. And that's all the questions I have for Mr. Eden, and would present him for questions.
Thank you. So according to the agreed upon order of cross-examination, I believe Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority, is that correct? Is first?
I don't recall, but I'm happy to kick it off.
Yeah, I just want to confirm staff did not have any cross-examination for this witness, correct?
That is correct, Madam Hearing Examiner. We have no questions.
Okay, then it goes to you, Mr. Herman.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Reedon. And just for the benefit of the court reporter, am I coming in okay? Can you hear me? Excellent, thank you. Mr. Reedon, my name is Keith Herman. I'm an attorney with the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting yet. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. I have some questions about your rebuttal testimony in response to CCAE witness, is it Mr. Altore? Starting at page 5 of your rebuttal, if you could go there.
Okay. Yes.
So at page 5, I understand you're rebutting Mr. Altore's claims that the demand response program should be utilized more. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So, and are you aware that the Water Authority is a participant in the Peak Saver program?
Yes.
Okay. Just to disclose that. Are parties still paid for their participation in demand response programs, even if they're not being called to curtail their usage?
Yes. In the Peak Saver program, there is a payment for what's called nominated load. That is what the customer believes they can reduce. And in the Power Saver program, customers receive a $25 incentive at the beginning of the season and another $25 incentive. No, when they sign up, they receive $25, and then at the end of the season, they receive $25.
A flat $25, that is?
That is a flat.
Okay.
It may be different for commercial customers. There are some commercial customers in the Power Saver program, and I'm not familiar with the details for them.
Okay. I'm not trying to quiz you on that. I guess I wanted to get at how are they cost effective if they're never used?
The main benefit of a demand response program is to enable PNM to avoid building a capacity resource. This is a physical thing out in the ground, out in the world, like a battery or a natural gas power plant. By having a demand response resource, PNM enables itself to build fewer of those other resources. Therefore, there may be years when neither the PNM, the demand response resource, or the avoided resource would be used, but the lack of building that other resource is what provides the value to customers of demand response.
So in other words, are you saying it's still a benefit for utility planning purposes?
Yes.
Do you think that minimizes risk that PNM is exposed that it would otherwise incur if it didn't have the programs in place?
I'm not sure. I think it definitely minimizes costs, but I'm not sure of the impact on risk.
Okay. Moving on, I believe it's at page 7 of your rebuttal. You discuss Mr. Altore's position regarding whether or not the return should be at the WACC, the weighted average cost of capital. Or, excuse me, CCAE proposes that we use the WACC, and I believe you have a different metric. Could you identify that metric for me?
Yes, let me find it. Yeah, CCA witness Ramon Alatore proposes that P&M, quote, instead use the ratepayer discount rate on page 19, lines 8 through 10 of his testimony.
Apologies, I misstated that as I was trying to read and ask a question at the same time. How would applying the ratepayer discount rate as opposed to the WAC affect the cost effectiveness of any of the programs PNM is proposing in this case?
According to CCA witness Ramon Alatorre's testimony, which I haven't independently verified, it would increase the cost effectiveness of the programs.
Using the ratepayer discount rate would increase the cost of the programs?
The cost effectiveness. So the cost effectiveness is a metric of the benefits divided by the costs.
And that's simply because the cost would be lower, so the cost benefit ratio would be higher?
Right.
So applying CCA's position wouldn't make any of the programs less cost effective. It'd make them more cost effective, correct?
Correct. To my understanding.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had. I appreciate your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Herman. Next up, CCAE reserved 20 minutes for rebuttal with Mr. Reedon. So Ms. Lynch, if you're prepared, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see. Good morning, Mr. Reedon.
Good morning.
I am going to be asking some questions that refer back to your direct testimony, your rebuttal testimony, and Ramon Alatorre's direct testimony. So if you could get those documents out to reference, that would be helpful.
Okay, they're in a binder, but they shouldn't be too hard to flip to.
Okay, so you have access to them. I'd like to start with asking some questions about demand side management and its use at PNM. The commission directed PNM to issue a demand response program in case number 1900195 UT to develop and implement 24 megawatts of demand response. Is that correct?
Excuse me, I'm referring to a document.
Would you accept it as true that in that case, the commission directed PNM to implement a demand response program in the amount of 24 megawatts?
Yes, I'm finding some text from that case, and I agree with that.
Okay. Are you also familiar, did PNM ever implement the demand response program? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with the 2300138 case where the recommended decision stated that the commission is not satisfied that its prior order is imprecise and practically impossible to comply with? Thus,
I'm
the
not familiar
commission.
with that text, no.
Okay, that's paragraph 68 of the RD that was issued in 2300138.
Okay.
There, the commission extended the implementation deadline to within 5 months of the commission's acceptance of PNM's 2023 IRP, where again it was requested that PNM implement 24 megawatt, an RFP to implement 24 megawatts of demand response. Would you accept that as true?
The text that I see is that PNM undertake an RFP for new incremental DR resources. I'm not sure whether that was required to be up to 24 megawatts or not.
Okay. Would you agree with CCAE witness Ramon Alatorre's conclusion on page 12 at lines 5 through 9 of his direct testimony that PNM has still not delivered the 24 megawatts of incremental demand response required in case number 1900195?
Yes, PNM has still not delivered the 24 megawatts.
Okay. One of the suggestions that Alatorre makes in his direct testimony is for PNM to survey the 21 vendors who expressed interest in submitting bids. In response to the RFP PNM released, would PNM be open to issuing a survey to those vendors regarding the RFP that it had released?
PNM believes that it would be superfluous to do that because 3 of the vendors gave us feedback at the time about why they didn't propose.
Okay. Are you familiar with the independent monitor's final report provided in 2025 that suggested PNM survey those vendors for their feedback of PNM's RFP?
Yes.
And in that report, the IM did recommend surveying the 21 vendors, correct?
Yes, the IM did.
PNM rejects the IM's recommendation and CCAE's recommendation to survey the vendors because PNM says that such a response would stretch PNM's EUEA budget. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with PNM making that contention, no.
Why won't PNM survey the 21 vendors?
PNM believes that we have sufficient information about the issues with that RFP and believes that the value gained would not be worth the effort that it would take.
Are you familiar with other utilities that have successfully issued DSM RFPs?
Not, I'm not familiar with, I mean, I am familiar with utilities that have successfully issued specific DSM RFPs for specific program types that they are interested in, but I am not familiar with utilities that have issued broad brush DSM RFPs for all types of DSM successfully.
Are you familiar with utilities that have robust demand side management programs in place?
Yes.
Have you compared the utilities that have robust DSM programs in place and their issued RFPs to the issued RFP by PNM?
I have not compared their RFPs in particular, no.
Okay, would you think that would be helpful to understand how those utilities issued an RFP that successfully resulted in a robust response?
I think that at such a point as we have a program design that we think is cost effective and appropriate to add to our portfolio, that at that point, looking at other utilities RFPs would be helpful. I do foresee some logistical challenges. I'm not sure if RFPs remain on the internet for a long period, so it might be a matter of building relationships with relevant utilities staff.
Okay. Can you please turn to your rebuttal testimony? Page 4, lines 18 through 23. There you state that vendors could not sufficiently respond to the request PNM made in its DSM RFP. Do you see that?
Lines
18 through 23.
Yes.
The vendors, your conclusion is that the vendors could not sufficiently respond to the request PNM made in the RFP. Is that accurate?
I don't see that text in my rebuttal testimony, no.
That idea is expressed in lines 18 through 23.
Yes, I think that idea
Okay.
is
Would you, in your opinion, then, the fact that the vendors could not sufficiently respond, is that only a vendor's issue?
No, no, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lynch, before you go on, can I insert just one quick question while we're on this?
Yes.
Mr. Reed, and what you all are discussing right now appears to be a quote from one of the 3 vendors that you spoke to. And part of the quote is what, as Ms. Lynch said, the ability to provide the solution requested. Can you explain that? What's the solution requested? What were they referring to there?
I mean, it was a very broad ask for the solution requested. It was demand reduction over a certain time frame.
And you had vendors who responded to that extremely broad request by saying that was not something they could provide.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay. Thanks, Ms. Lynch. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Yes, not a problem. I'm going to change to another topic, but still within your direct testimony. Can you please turn to page 5, where we'll be looking at lines 12 through 15 of your rebuttal?
Oh, Okay, we're on the rebuttal still. Okay. Page 5.
Yes,
And which lines, please?
12 through 15.
12 through 15. Okay.
And you write a counterpoint to witness Alatorre's statement that, quote, the benefits accumulate with each event while a significant amount of the cost remain fixed, end quote. Is that a significant amount of the benefits remain fixed as more events are called while costs increase? My question is, what do you mean by benefits here?
The benefits are the avoided cost of other system resources that P&M would need to procure in the absence of demand response.
Okay, and what do you mean by costs?
The costs are the program costs, including third-party administration costs and the incentives paid to the customers.
Okay, to P&M, correct?
P&M pays those costs.
Okay, thank you. Can you please take a look at page 6, lines 1 through 2? You state, as long as events are called when there are truly capacity needs, the costs and benefits of calling further events are both small. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. At page 7, lines 2 through 7, you conclude, thus, as stated above, the company believes that customers are best served by avoiding the inconvenience associated with additional events above and beyond the events necessary for operational needs, end quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What do you mean that P&M or that customers avoid the inconvenience of an event?
I probably should have specified that these are customers who are enrolled in the programs, but it's inconvenient to have your air conditioner work at less than full capacity for power saver, or to have to modify the operations of your business for peak saver.
Okay.
And yep.
Okay, so would you agree that it's really less costly for customers when an event is called?
It depends on whether the event is needed for operational needs or not. I believe that if it's needed for operational needs, then it is less costly to call an event than not call an event. For events beyond that threshold, I believe it's more costly, mostly due to the need to recruit additional customers who may in Power Saver who leave the program when an event is called.
Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification. I'd like to just ask a couple of questions about the discount rate.
Sure.
Do you know, are both a WAC and a rate power discount rate allowed under New Mexico law?
The commission has approved both, according to Mr. Alatorre. So I would assume that they are both legal.
Okay. Do you know that P&M uses a WAC rather than a ratepayer discount rate because a WAC is the utility's preference, correct?
We use it because we believe it more accurately reflects the costs of capital. that occur due to the programs.
Okay. And as Mr. Keith made clear, there are additional cost effectiveness considerations if a ratepayer discount rate is used, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Next, I have a few questions about the forecasted peak saver and power saver programs. If you could, please turn to page 8 of Ramon Alatorre's direct testimony and take a look at table R2. This is in response to your direct testimony.
Table RA2. Okay, I found it.
Thanks. PNM's planned savings for both the peak saver and power saver programs jump in this current proposal, correct? By jump, I mean increase.
Yes. Well,
Do you know by how much?
according to this table, yes.
Okay. And will both programs increase the proposed savings?
I subject to check. I think there may be some incorrect data in this table. I believe that peak saver is already at 30 megawatts and would not jump. However, I believe that power saver is above 40 megawatts currently and would continue to grow per the table.
Correct, yes. Do you know the historical behavior of the peak saver program in the last program?
The historical, do you mean in the current program cycle since?
The one that's currently in place.
Yes, I do, yes.
Did it achieve the predicted savings?
It did after a few years of growth.
Explain that, please.
We changed vendors we changed vendors to our current vendor a few years ago. When that happened, all of the peak saver customers had to be re-enrolled in the program, and the process of doing that meant that the capacity in the program was low in the first few years. But I believe it's gotten up to its goals.
Okay. For both programs, the plan that's proposed increases, it's proposed to increase the savings, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The reduction, yeah.
Do you know, will PNM achieve these savings through the use of virtual power plants?
PNM intends to pilot the use of a virtual power plant in the peak saver program. That would enable the full participation of batteries. We have some now, but they don't get used to their full capacity. So the VPP would enable the full capabilities of batteries to be used in the peak saver program.
Will any other technologies contribute to the additional savings?
No, I mean, the existing technologies will contribute the lion's share of the additional savings.
I'd like to continue exploring this just a little bit regarding virtual power plants. Can you describe a virtual power plant that PNM has in mind?
Yes, it has a software backbone called IntelliFlex. It enables various technologies, including batteries, to be fully used, including charge and discharge capabilities. That is what that, yep, that is a description of the VPP that we have in mind.
Okay, it's the use of a software program?
Yes, the software backbone is called IntelliFlex.
Are there other ways that PNM thinks about VPPs?
Not at present.
Okay. In your opinion, is a VPP different from a load management or demand savings program?
I think a VPP is a umbrella that can include load management or demand savings programs, but also can include other types of programs.
Excuse me, you
So,
dropped your voice. I didn't hear your
Oh, you
answer.
didn't hear that? Sorry.
I think a VPP is an umbrella that can include.
I think that VPP is an umbrella that can include load management and demand savings programs, but can also include other types of programs and technologies.
can the VPP change the frequency that PNM utilizes these resources?
Yes, if other technologies are included that have different operational characteristics, then it could, for those participants, it could change the frequency with which PNM uses the programs.
So, in your opinion, is calling on a VPP like calling an event, as you refer to an event?
Yes.
Okay. How big does PNM want the VPP program to be by the end of this plan?
PNM regards it as a pilot, so PNM expects that it will not be that large by the end of this plan.
Is PNM using an example from another utility to model its pilot?
No, not at present.
Would PNM be open to feedback from stakeholders on effective VPP programs across the country?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I think I've concluded my questions, hearing examiner. Thank you, Mr. Reedon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep.
Mhm. Thank you, Ms. Lynch. I have a handful of questions for you. I want to start with one first for clarification of the record. At one point when Ms. Lynch was speaking with you, you indicated that you thought that some of the data that was in her witnesses table RA2 may have been incorrect. My understanding, Ms. Lynch, is that is there in fact data that you're seeing in there, Mr. Reedon, that is incorrect is the first question.
I don't have the data to definitively say so, but the 2025 achieved actual savings for peak saver potentially looks low to me.
Okay. And then Ms. Lynch, this was essentially a table that your witness just cut and pasted from PNM's, from something that PNM had produced, correct?
Mostly, yes. There's some
Okay.
analysis.
My point is, I would like the attorneys for PNM and CCAE to check their versions of these tables and in their testimony and see if there is a mistake, whether the mistake originated in PNM's table or was perhaps something that wasn't copied correctly. And then for the sake of the record, we need to have accurate data. So wherever the mistake was, I would like the party who produced it to fix that, please, and provide a amended version so that we make sure that we have an accurate record.
Thank you.
Okay.
Will
Understood.
do.
And that doesn't have to be done right now. It just was something I caught. And then, Mr. Reedon, based on, I have a couple of questions about your the Power Saver and Peak Saver programs of my own, where I would have liked you to go a little bit further in your testimony, but I actually want to start by going back. You had a conversation with Ms. Lynch, and let me pull it up so I am quoting you correctly. Just give me one moment, please. Okay. Ms. Lynch asked you something to the effect of, you had a conversation about whether it's more or less costly for customers when an event is called. And that was Ms. Lynch's question to you. And your answer was something to the effect of, it depends on whether the event is needed for operational needs or not. If it's needed for operation, yes. If it goes beyond that threshold, it is less costly if it goes beyond that threshold. Something, do those words accurately reflect the general nature of the testimony in your response to Ms. Lynch? I believe it is more
Yeah.
costly for events beyond that threshold.
Yes.
Okay. For the sake of the record and my own understanding, what do you mean by if it's needed for operational needs versus other reasons why an event would be called?
All of PNM's events are called by our power operations department, and they have they're the ones who have the firsthand view into whether the system load is going to exceed the generation capacity that we have on a given day. So the events that we call at present are based on their assessment of the need for an event. If we were to call more events, then those events would not be called because of power ops assessment that the load would exceed the generation on a given day.
So then in the context of the way you responded to Ms. Lynch, what's the definition of operational needs?
Operational need is when the calling an event is needed in order to ensure that power continues to flow to all PNM's customers.
Okay. And there are reasons other than that an event is called by this power operations department?
Not at present, but CCAE is asking in Mr. Alatorre's testimony that events be called more often And if they were called more often, then they would be called for other reasons.
Okay. And are you a part of this, and correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but the power operational department, are you a part of that department?
No.
And do they communicate, what's your relationship to that department as the witness who's testifying on this subject?
I'm on the team that makes the program, that makes it possible for a demand response event to be called. And then
Okay.
power operations are the ones who tell us when an event should be called.
That makes sense. All right, so then I have a couple of questions, mostly, as I said, to clarify certain points of your testimony. And first is a discussion that you have in and around page 30 of your direct. And it's mostly just related to your use of certain terms. So around page 30, and possibly right on page 30, you explain that the Power Saver and Peak Saver provide dispatchable response resources, may called upon during periods when generation, distribution, or transmission resources are strained. My question is what's the operational definition, or does PNM have an operational definition of the term strained?
If there is a definition, it would be by the Power Operations Department, and I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So are you privy, or you or any other of the witnesses that were provided in this case, because it may shorten my question significantly, to the criteria that department uses to decide whether or not an event should be called?
No.
Okay. Give me just a moment, because I will not waste your time. All right. So then I'm going to pivot you to a completely different subject.
Okay.
Maybe as someone who's more familiar with the program, you can actually answer the general question that I was getting to, which is my understanding of CCA's testimony is that they're examining the number of events that have been called by PNM, and they're suggesting that you may want to call events more often. Do you think that's a accurate characterization of his testimony?
Yes.
And you've given an explanation today as to why PNM, to the best of your knowledge, calls the events that they do. My understanding from your testimony, however, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the benefit is that there's a certain amount of firm capacity that PNM can depend upon and say, well, we can count on year over year that this is the amount of megawatt hours that we will save in a firm sense. We can use that for planning purposes. Then there's a sort of a margin where it varies. Is that accurate? And I think, I don't know, the numbers are maybe 15 and 20, if that makes sense. So there's a certain amount that you can depend on for planning, and the rest varies slightly.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about the firm and non-firm portions of our demand response programs.
Yes.
And
yeah, my understanding is that, please, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yes, the power operations department depends more highly on the firm resources because there are monetary penalties to the vendors if they do not achieve those amounts.
Do you have any insight into how the amount of firm capacity is calculated by this department, just generally?
It's calculated by what's in the contracts. We have our contracts with the vendor, or a contract with the vendor, stating how much they are obligated to provide, and with a monetary penalty for each program. We also use the past as a guide. Yes.
So there's two ways. One is there's a number that's agreed upon in the contract. Do you have any insight into how that number is reached between PNM and the party with whom they contract for firm
It's a
capacity?
negotiation. Of course,
Okay.
we would want more, and they would less.
And you also said, and this actually goes to the heart of my question, that amount of more useful firm capacity on which PNM can depend enough to plan, which I understand is the overarching benefit of this program is that it's avoided cost. If you can depend on a certain amount of megawatts being avoided by the use of these programs, it saves you from having to build the generation to produce that amount, at times when the system is strained, either build or purchase. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say that part of the way that PNM creates that number, that firm capacity number, is by negotiating with parties and looking at what has been done in the past, would you agree that more events would provide more information and therefore provide more benefit overall moving forward, because it would give PNM more data to use to see when the power saver programs are useful or not useful going forward, which would then potentially allow them to increase that. If you're starting with a limited data set, you're limiting the amount of firm capacity that you can calculate. Is that at all an accurate statement? And I apologize, I'm sort of doing this on the fly.
Yeah, if we were below the amount of firm capacity and the nominated loads, that's how much people say the commercial industrial customers say they're going to reduce. If those weren't coming in at close to what they should be, what they said they would do, then in that case, calling additional events can give additional information as to how much true firm capacity PNM can count on. However, I believe we're well above the firm capacity in the recent events that we've called. So calling more events wouldn't give any more information about how much firm capacity we could count on, unless we were to open up the contract and say we want more firm capacity, which I'm not sure the vendor would be amenable to.
Okay. Are you privy to how frequently and under what circumstances the department, the power operation department, reevaluates the amount of firm capacity? How often is it reevaluated, and what's taken into account to determine whether it can be increased or not? Or is that something that resides
That's
with?
something our department does. We tell power ops how much firm capacity we have. Yeah. Did you ask how often?
You said we tell Power Ops how much
Yeah.
firm capacity we have, we being your department?
How much firm demand response capacity we have?
Okay, okay. All right. And then I have a very specific question that completely pivots to something else that was in your rebuttal testimony that may actually be a question for your attorney. In rebuttal, well, there's two questions. In your rebuttal, if you want to go to that, CCAE's witness pointed out originally that you were required by the commission to hold two presentations over 2 years, 2025 and 2026. You provide a correction in your rebuttal that there was an event held, and I believe it's on page 10. I'm sorry, please.
Found it.
Yeah. You did not mention an annual meeting in its testimony. Was there a reason why it wasn't mentioned, or was it just simply an oversight?
It was an oversight.
Great. And then as an attachment to your rebuttal, you provide the presentation from that meeting. And do either you or your attorney know if there's an attendance list or any documentation of who attended that meeting that's available? Because I didn't see it in what was provided for the 2025 meeting.
I don't know if it's available.
And I'm unaware as well. We can check to see if that is available, and if you'd like, we can supply that.
If you could let me know, perhaps either at the end of the day or on a break, if it is available. If it's not, that's fine. If it is, I may issue a bench request to get that information from you. And then similarly in your rebuttal on and around page 8 and continuing, you agree with some of some errors that CCAE's witness found in the
Yes.
technical manual. Yeah.
Mm.
And you
Yes.
you gave a good thorough response. What I didn't see in there is whether or not the changes or the inconsistencies that were identified by him and confirmed by you, does it affect any of the numbers or any of the evidence that was provided in support of this application? Because you indicate that you'll change it going forward on your website, but you don't clarify whether it has an effect on the present proceedings.
No, it doesn't affect the testimony or exhibits. It's program materials.
Okay. I just wanted that to be clear for the record. All right, those are my questions. Thank you. Mr. Atencio, do you have any redirect for your witness?
Just a couple, thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Reed, you mentioned earlier, if I understood right, you make a demand response program possible for power operations to call upon. Was that correct?
Yes.
How do you make that possible? How does your group make a demand response program possible?
We create a program design, develop an RFP, hire a vendor, and manage the vendor's implementation of the demand response program.
How do you hire a vendor?
We go through an extensive RFP process. So craft the RFP, issue the RFP. There's other steps I'm forgetting. We receive bids. We evaluate bids with a formal metric spreadsheet, and then collectively make a decision as to what vendor is the best for P&M's customers. And then we contract.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then we contract with them.
And this decision as to which vendor would be the best, you mentioned that there were decision metrics, if I understood correctly, correct?
Yes.
And is this born out of the RFP process?
Yeah, so we rate each vendor from its based on its written RFP response, and it's if it comes if the vendor staff come in for a an interview or presentation, then we rate them based on that presentation as well. Those go into the spreadsheet, numerical ratings, and then that is the metrics that we use to decide who to hire.
And earlier, I think back at the beginning of some of your cross-exam questions, there was some questions about a previous RFP and responses and feedback from bidders. Could you explain that a little bit more depth? What kind of feedback did you receive?
Let me find that. Spot. RFP. So one supplier said that the start date of 2027 and beyond was too difficult for them to know, especially what pricing they should propose. Other suppliers said that they couldn't provide solutions that met our requirements.
Okay. And a different topic now. I've heard a couple of different units of measurements thrown around this morning. 1 megawatts and then also megawatt hours. Can you explain briefly the difference between the two?
Yes. Megawatts are an instantaneous flow rate. They're how much electricity is going through the wires at any given moment. Megawatt hour is how much electricity you would have in total if a megawatt flowed through the wires for an hour. So you can think of it like a water coming out of a faucet into a bucket. How fast it's coming out, that's the number of megawatts. That's like the number of megawatts. How much water is in the bucket, that's like the number of megawatt hours.
How does that fit into this demand response program?
Well, we ask customers to reduce their energy use for a few hours, or cause customers to reduce their energy use for a few hours. So there's a considerable megawatt impact. But compared to our energy efficiency programs, for example, the number of megawatt hours from an event is pretty small.
Thank you, Mr. Eden. Madam Hearing Examiner, I believe that's all the questions I have on redirect.
Okay. Ms. Lynch or Mr. Herman, do you have any limited additional questions specifically about what I asked or what Mr. Atencio asked the witness?
No, thank you, Madam Examiner.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, Mr. Eden, thank you for your testimony and for being here with us today, and you may be excused.
All righty.
I think next up we have two more PNM witnesses for whom only CCAE has reserved time. So why don't we go ahead and take a 10-minute break right now to allow PNM to get their new witness. And then we will complete the PNM witnesses and then reassess after that. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. Please make sure you turn off your camera and your sound because the YouTube will continue to flow. Mr. Atencio.
Just wanted to clarify, Madam Hearing Examiner, the next witness would be Mr. Casas?
Did anyone reserve time for Mr. Casas? I don't believe anyone did. I think the next witness would be Mr. Hakimian.
Hakimian, yes.
Yeah.
Madam Hearing Examiner, can I just ask just a point of clarification about on that sort of subject? So we do have a couple of PNM witnesses for whom no one had reserved time. We also have Mark Tupler for staff for whom no one had reserved time. Do you want to just take those in the order of examination as they appear, or how would you like to handle that this morning?
I'm going to go ahead. Let's do this. I had asked PNM to just have their additional 2 witnesses available in case I had questions for them, and I do not. So they can be excused from the hearing if it's okay with PNM if we just stipulate their testimony into the record without having to have them appear at the hearing, if that's acceptable.
Acceptable to PNM, I believe that would be Mr. Casas and Mr. Duane.
Duane, yes, that's correct.
That's
Okay.
acceptable.
Okay, so we'll do that after the break. And then, so Mr. Krankamp, same for Mr. Tupler. I don't have any questions for Mr. Tupler. So he doesn't have to be on standby. And perhaps we could do the same thing where we'll stipulate his testimony into the record so he doesn't have to appear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in which case the order of witnesses going forward will be Mr. Hakimian, Mr. Bodie, and then after that would be staff's witness, Mr. Otara. And then last would be CCAE's witness. Am I reflecting the agreed upon order of witnesses correctly? Okay. Ms. Lynch, did you have a question?
Well, I just had an update. I do not have any questions for Mr. Hakimian.
I know who you mean.
Yes, okay. Apologies.
And I don't have any questions for him either. So if there are no cross-examiner, hearing examiner witness, my goodness, questions for him, perhaps we can do the same thing. After the break, we'll stipulate his testimony into the record. And then Ms. Lynch, you do have questions for Mr. Bodie, correct?
Yes, I have some questions for Mr. Bodie.
And you do have questions for the staff witness, Mr. Utara, yes?
I do. I don't know that they're critical.
Okay. Well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's go ahead and take our break. And then the next witness will be Mr. Bodie. And then we'll discuss Mr. Utara, and then it'll be CCA's witness after that. Does that sound right to everyone? All right, let's go ahead and take the 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Starting now. Thank you. All right, I don't see, oh, there's PNM's witness. I don't see Ms. Lynch or Mr. Furman.
I'm here, Madam Examiner.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Ms. Asher Hoyman, am I saying your name correctly? Could you say it for me? Hoyman, Asher Hoyman. Okay, thank you. I don't know. Everybody's a bit tongue-tied today. Let me know when you're ready to go back on the record. All right, wonderful. Before we went into recess, we had discussed stipulating some of the witness testimony of witnesses that do not have to appear for cross-examination into the record. So just for purposes of a complete record and for these proceedings, Mr. Atencio, why don't we go ahead and just do that right now? So I'm just gonna go through some of the pro forma questions and confirm that none of the parties who are present have any objection to stipulating to those. And we'll just do it one exhibit at a time. It'll just take a minute if that's okay.
That's fine. There was one point that came up in talking with Mr. Casas during the break. There was a typo, and we wanted to see how you'd like to handle correction of the typo.
Wonderful. Is it, and it's a substantive change?
It's not substantive. There's one instance, the limit at which the sliding scale incentive would apply. It's correctly stated throughout the testimony. It's just one instance has an incorrect number. It states 80 gigawatt hours rather than the correct 81 gigawatt hours. Everywhere else says 81. It's just this one, line 8, page 5 of Mr. Casas' testimony. So we can certainly call him and have him go through that real quick if you'd like, or whatever you would prefer.
Let's just, I think we can handle that without having to get him up on the stand. So let's start with, and will you please correctly pronounce the last name of the testimony provider of exhibit number 5, just so we all know?
Irfan Hakimian.
Hakimian. Thank you. All right, so starting with PNM, actually, let's start with Mr. Casas. So starting with PNM exhibit number 4, I will ask the parties who are present if there are any objections to stipulating that this exhibit number 4 is in fact the direct testimony of Abraham Casas, that it was drafted by him or under his direct supervision, that in this case, Mr. Atencio has proactively identified an error in the testimony, and I actually, because it's a number, I would actually like it if you could submit to the Dropbox a revised version of the testimony with the red line, just to be sure that we have an accurate record. So
we will do so.
Okay, and I'll connect you with our paralegal, Miss Kippenbrock, and she will work with you to get that uploaded to the Dropbox. No objections to stipulating that Mr. Atencio will take care of that with his witness, and that if Mr. Casas was here today, he would testify to the written testimony under oath as though he were here today. Are there any objections to stipulating to those points? Hearing no objections, I'm going to admit PNM exhibit number 4. And then for PNM exhibit number 5, do the parties present have any objection to stipulating that PNM exhibit number 5 is a direct testimony of Irfan Hakimian, that it was prepared by him or under his direct supervision, that if there are any substantive errors identified by him or his counsel, that Mr. Atencio will follow the same procedures we just discussed to get a corrected version uploaded for the parties to use, and that Mr. Hakimian would testify to his direct testimony today under oath. It's the same testimony he would give under oath here if he were here today. Does anyone have an objection to stipulating to that?
Madam Examiner, just there wasn't any substantive error identified, so I just object to that language, that there might be some substantive error corrected later that we haven't been advised of right now.
That's fine, maybe because you're here, Mr. Atencio, were you able to confer with Mr. Hakimian and confirm with him that there aren't going to be any changes that need to be made to his direct testimony, the same you did with Mr. Cassis?
We did not identify any errors, no.
Okay, Mr. Herman, does that satisfy you?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks for the clarification. Are there any objections then to admitting PNM Exhibit 5? Hearing no objections, I'm going to admit that exhibit. Now we're going to go through the same steps. And I'm confusing myself slightly. Ms. Lynch has questions for Mr. Bodie, but doesn't have for Mr. Duane. So for PNM Exhibit number 7, are there any objections to the parties present stipulating to the fact that PNM Exhibit number 7 is the direct testimony of Thomas P. Duane, that it was prepared by him or under his direct supervision? Mr. Atencio, can you confirm for us similarly that you consulted with your witness and he did not identify any substantive changes to his direct?
We did not identify any errors or changes.
Okay, that there's no need to make corrections to his direct testimony, and that he would testify the same way if he were here today under oath. Establishing that, are there any objections to the admission of PNM Exhibit number 7? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to admit PNM Exhibit number 7. And then why don't we go ahead and start with the cross-examination, direct and cross-examination of PNM's remaining witness, and then Mr. Kreinkamp, I will drag you through that same process when we get to your turn for your witnesses. So PNM can present their next witness, which I believe is Mr. Josh Bodie.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Yes, PNM's next witness is Josh Bodie, and he's available to be sworn in.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Bodie, would you raise your right hand, sir? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Bodie. Would you please state your name and job title for the record?
Yeah, my name's Josh Bodie, and I'm the managing partner for Demand Science Analytics.
Do you have before you what has been labeled as PNM Exhibit 6?
Yes.
What is this document?
The document's my testimony regarding the T&D avoided cost study that was implemented.
Was this prepared by you or under your supervision?
It was prepared under my supervision. I had additional staff support me, of course.
Is this a true and accurate account to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any additions or corrections to it?
None.
If I asked you the same questions today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Madam Hearing Examiner, I move admission of PNM Exhibit 6.
Are there any objections to moving PNM Exhibit number 6 into evidence? Hearing no objections, it's admitted.
And that's all the questions I have for Mr. Bodie and present him for cross-examination.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch, you are the one party who reserved cross-examination time with Mr. Bodie, so you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, actually it's still morning. Good morning, Mr. Bodie.
Good morning.
I'm the attorney for Coalition for Clean Affordable Energy.
Yep.
Could you please make sure that you have Exhibit 6 or your direct testimony before you as a reference?
I do have it.
Okay, many of the questions I'm about to ask you refer to voided costs and the analysis performed by PNM regarding those avoided costs. Okay.
You mean the analysis performed by DSA, by Demand Analytics?
Correct.
I'm sorry.
Represented by PNM. Thanks. Questions for you about that. First, we're going to examine energy efficiency generally. In your opinion, does implementing energy efficiency save on energy consumed?
That's the goal of energy efficiency, is to reduce energy consumption.
Okay. If that's the goal, then would that result in a decrease of greenhouse gas emissions?
It does. That wasn't part of my testimony, but yes, it does result in decrease of greenhouse gas emissions, depending on the supply.
Okay. And does PNM account for the energy savings provided by energy efficiency?
That was not the focus of my testimony, right? That probably is accounted elsewhere in cost effectiveness. The focus of my testimony was on transmission and distribution avoided costs, where the commission directed PNM to do a study on transmission and distribution avoided costs.
Okay. I was just laying the foundation. Do you know if the energy savings can result in avoided costs for the utility?
It can, from the T&D perspective, it depends on the timing of when it occurs and the location where it happens.
Okay. Do you know, does PNM include reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in the avoided cost analysis?
I don't know. It depends from a high level standpoint. It depends on the type of test that you use for cost effectiveness, because there are tests that include greenhouse emissions and there are perspectives or tests that do not include it. But that was not my role. I did not conduct the cost effectiveness for PNM. I would defer to whoever conducted the cost effectiveness analysis for them.
Okay. Do you know, I'm just asking questions about the cost analysis because that's what you testified to. Do you know why PNM might not include greenhouse gas emissions in the avoided cost analysis?
That, again, is not part of the analysis that I did. Mine was a very factual analysis trying to estimate in a technology agnostic matter what are the transmission distribution avoided costs. Greenhouse gas emissions is separate, and to say here is what is the transmission distribution avoided costs that come from energy efficiency and demand response.
Do you know, or do you know who I should ask about whether PNM invests in technology meant to reduce greenhouse gas emissions?
I don't know. High level, whoever does cost effectiveness and whoever does the IRP planning overall.
And you don't know who that would be in the company? But energy efficiency can result in greenhouse gas emissions reductions, correct?
Yes, it can.
So you cannot provide information on whether PNM accounts for reductions in greenhouse gas emissions.
No, that was not my role. I was hired for very specific expertise on transmission and distribution, avoided cost studies. What are really the transmission distribution avoided costs? When you look at avoided costs, there's different levels. There's energy, transmission, distribution avoided costs, generation, energy. If you include societal tests, you can do elements like greenhouse gas emissions. But at this stage, my focus was in one key component that the commission asked to have updated and to use PNM specific values, and that was the T&D avoided cost component.
Okay. Can you provide for us what PNM does include in its avoided cost analysis?
Again, I'm not responsible for the full avoided cost analysis. I can give you a general direction as to what the industry as a whole does, right? Industry as a whole.
That would be helpful, yes.
Industry as a whole has different tests that have different perspectives. There's a societal perspective, which includes things like greenhouse gas emissions, and oftentimes incentives or transfers that occur. There are some costs there. There's a perspective which is a total resource cost perspective, which is trying to compare on an even basis different resources.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I need
Yes.
you to slow down just a little bit. There's a bit of an echo and you're very difficult. You can just slow down just a bit.
Sure, of course. You also have a perspective, which is utility cost perspective. That's kind of looking at, or program administrator. It literally is looking at here's the cost and benefits that flow to that particular entity. There's the perspective from the ratepayer, and there's the perspective from the participant. So what avoided costs get included depends on the perspective of the benefit cost analysis. And typically most commissions have a specified perspective that's being used for decision making and overall. And it's quite common to run cost benefit tests, all 5 of them. But there's typically one that leads to the final decision making.
Do you know if some of those cost benefit tests include greenhouse gas emissions?
The one that would include it would be a societal test. And again, I'm not the expert here for P&M, but it depends on the guidance from the commission as to which test is applied for decision making.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bodie, that's the extent of my questions. Thank you, hearing examiner.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Mr. Bodie, I don't have any questions for you today. So, Mr. Atencio, do you have any redirect for Mr. Bodie?
No, Madam Hearing Examiner.
Okay. Mr. Bodie, thank you for taking the time to be here and for your testimony. You may be excused.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Next on the list, because we are skipping Mr. Duane and we're skipping Mr. Tupler, so we're going to move on to staff's witnesses. Mr. Krankamp, do you need a moment to get your witness ready?
No. Yes, we will reach out to Dr. Watara and see if we can get him on. Is now a good time to go through the admission of Mr. Tupler's testimony?
Yes, I was going to do that before you got your witness prepared. I just didn't know if after we did that, if you need a moment to get him. And then Ms. Lynch, you had expressed before the break that you weren't sure if you had questions for Dr. Otaro. Do you in fact have questions for him? Would you like him to be available?
I don't think they're critical, so I'll just refrain.
Okay. So then, Mr. Krankamp, I just saw Dr. Otaro came into the waiting room, but you can let him know that he doesn't need to appear unless you feel compelled to get him up to do direct examination to get his testimony into the record, or we can just stipulate.
I think we'll be okay with stipulating it in.
Okay. Well, thank him for being available.
Thank you. I'm in the interest of potentially trying to expedite that process. I'm willing to, I guess, make a motion to admit our testimonies, and I will just state for the record, if it's helpful at all, we are not seeking to make any corrections to those testimonies, just for the sake of the record.
That's helpful. So starting with Mr. Tupler's testimony, Mr. Krankamp has made a motion to admit Mr. Tupler's testimony into the record, clarifying that there are no corrections that need to be made to that direct testimony. And am I correct, Mr. Krankamp, that Mr. Tupler's testimony would have been staff exhibit number 1?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So are there any objections to Mr. Krankamp's motion to admit Mr. Tupler's testimony, which is staff exhibit number 1, into the record? Hearing no objections, I'm going to admit staff exhibit number 1 into the record. Mr. Krankamp, am I correct that Dr. Otaro's testimony was identified as staff exhibit number 2?
You are indeed correct, Madam Hearing Examiner. Thank you.
And am I also correct that you've confirmed that there are no changes that need to be made to Dr. Otaro's testimony?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay. And hearing that, are there any objections to Mr. Krankamp's motion to have Dr. Otaro's testimony, staff exhibit number 2, admitted to the record? Hearing no objections, I'm going to go ahead and admit that.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner.
Mr. Krankamp, thank your witnesses for being available today and for their testimony. So moving on then, Ms. Lynch, it will be your witness, and PNM staff and the Water Authority have all reserved time. Do you need us to take a quick break to get your witness prepared, or is he here?
He should have the link, but I don't see why we wouldn't just take a little break to get him prepared.
All right, since we are doing very well on time, let's just take a 5-minute break so that Ms. Lynch can get her witness prepared and he can be admitted to the proceedings. So the time is 10:43. Let's just come back at 10:50.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Ash Hoyman, are you prepared to go back on the record?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The time's 10:50 and we are back on the record. We're at the point in the proceeding where it is time for CCAE to present their witness. So Ms. Lynch, go ahead.
Thank you. CCAE calls Mr. Alatorre.
Mr. Alatorre, would you raise your right hand for me, sir? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Alatorre.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, my name is Ramon Alatorre. First name is spelled Ramon. The last name is spelled Alatorre.
What is your business address?
Business address is 2334 Broadway Street, Boulder, Colorado 80304.
And where are you employed?
I'm employed at the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. We regularly refer to ourselves as SWEEP.
Thank you. Whose behalf are you testifying today?
Coalition for Clean and Affordable Energy, or CCAE.
Have you prepared written testimony for this proceeding?
I have, I believe it's Exhibit 1, CCAE Exhibit 1.
Thank you. Did you prepare it?
I did, yes.
Is it true and accurate?
It is, yes.
Are there any changes that you'd like to make to it?
Yes, two small changes. First, I would note that the document has the UT sort of notation on it. Apparently, that was not necessary, just the case number. And then also, there is a citation to the independent monitor final report. And we'd like to note that it should have been the independent monitor DSM final report. This would add clarity.
Any other changes that you'd like to make?
No, not at this time.
Do you want to add your resume?
Yes, I have. I would be glad to add my resume to the record.
Thank you. Do you adopt this as your direct testimony then?
I do.
If you were asked the same questions today, would your answers remain the same?
They would.
Because you've added your resume, do you have any exhibits attached to your resume or to your testimony?
I believe the only exhibit would be the resume.
Thank you. Is your testimony accurate and up to date?
It is.
CCAE moves for admission of the updated CCAE Exhibit 1, which will be added to the record if the hearing examiner permits.
For the sake of clarification, Mr. Alatorre, your lawyer is moving to admit your testimony with an exhibit attached to it, Exhibit 1, which is your resume, correct? Those are not two separate CCAE exhibits. They are the same exhibit with a sub-exhibit. Okay. If there are no objections from the other parties, because the two changes, rather than being fully substantive, were just clarification, one to the caption and one to that footnote, I'm not going to require you to submit a red-lined updated testimony unless one of the parties states right now that they would prefer that you do. Hearing no one, the original testimony and exhibit is fine. Are there any objections to CCAE Exhibit 1? Are there any objections to the admission of CCAE Exhibit 1? Hearing no objections, it's admitted.
Thank you. CCAE now passes the witness.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. So I believe the agreed upon order order of examination has Mr. Atencio first, and he's reserved 5 minutes with Mr. Alatorre. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Alatorre. My name is Chris Atencio. I'm counsel for PNM in this matter.
Good morning.
Just a couple of quick questions. If you have your testimony before you, could you go to page 12, line 7? Let me know when you're there.
I am there.
And on line 7 through 9, it states, while this requirement has been supplanted and redefined in various dockets, the no award decision during the 2024 DSM RFP, now issued 22 months ago, has left the initial requirement for incremental DR still unsatisfied. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Can you explain to me what supplanted and redefined mean?
Yeah, I believe they're in quotes because I'm referring to sort of a sequence of decisions. The original was in 2019, or that case number 19-00195. And then the incremental DR was not acquired. And so when it was brought up in subsequent proceedings, the terms supplanted and redefined were utilized. I believe eventually it got to the point where after the 2023 IRP, that is where it was, that original requirement was sort of moved to try to acquire this 24 megawatts. And the company went through an RFP process, and ultimately, even though the baton sort of got handed through a couple of different proceedings, I believe, as was mentioned by witness Reedon today, that 24 megawatts has still not been acquired to the best of my knowledge.
So am I understanding that you're interpreting supplanted to mean moved?
Perhaps I'm not sure the legal definition of supplanted, but it was a term of art that was used in the recommended decisions.
I see. Are you familiar with any of PNM's other RFPs?
I suppose I'm passingly familiar. I've been involved in the IRP process that's sort of currently underway as well. I know there are all source RFPs, and yeah, the company does a lot of RFPs. So I have some familiarity.
I see. And are you familiar with going to earlier today and the testimony that was filed in this matter? Are you familiar with Mr. Reedon's testimony and his rebuttal?
I am, yes.
And it sounds like, am I correct in assuming that you're familiar with the RFP process for demand response?
I am, yes.
Would you agree that the culmination of an RFP process would typically be a contract?
I would agree.
In the context of an RFP, in this case, PNM and a demand response program, who would be the parties to that contract at the end of that RFP process?
Expect it would be PNM and the winning bidder.
I object, Your Honor.
Ms. Lynch, the basis for your objection?
This line of questions goes to understanding contracts and who makes contracts. I don't believe that Alatorre's testimony dealt with contracts at all.
Mr. Atencio, do you have a response?
I believe his testimony does. It specifically discusses the RFP process and then the end of that process, whether PNM entered a contract for a demand response resource or not.
I'm going to allow the questioning, but be careful to keep it in scope, which you've just identified as sort of the end of that process and the resulting actions by PNM.
Thank you. And that was actually my last question.
Oh, okay. Ms. Lynch, do you have any redirect for your client? I mean, for your witness, sorry.
Yes, I do have,
Madam Examiner,
And ma'am, yep.
apologies, this is Keith Harmon with the Water Authority. I had some
I am
time.
so sorry.
And I did
My
as
goodness.
well, Madam Hearing Examiner.
I want to apologize. Today, for some reason, I'm a bit tongue tangled and generally twisted. Thank you for reminding me. Ms. Lynch, of course, you'll have to hold off on your redirect until all of the questions are done. Next up in the line of cross-examination would be Mr. Kreinkamp with staff, and he's reserved 15 minutes. Thank you for your patience with me today.
No
Go ahead,
problem,
Mr.
Madam Hearing
Kreinkamp.
Examiner. No problem. I hear you. Let's see. Good morning, Mr. Alatorre. My name is John Kreinkamp, and I'm one of the attorneys for PRC staff this morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I just have a couple of questions for you. I guess, want to pick off, where on the same sort of line of questioning from Mr. Atencio. My question, I guess, with respect to this recommendation is I just want to, at a fundamental level, I guess I want to understand sort of exactly what it is you're recommending here, or I guess rather the basis for the recommendation. Is the argument that you're making that PNM essentially has violated this requirement from these previous cases, or that essentially they haven't complied, I guess, with the spirit of those orders from years past? Can you help me with that?
It's an interesting question. I'm not sure how to parse the distinction. I do think as I follow the decisions along the path that the requirement still has not been satisfied. Whether that's a true violation might be for legal minds, but certainly not the spirit. And CCAE has been sort of pushing on the company to develop their demand response and even move towards a virtual power plant type of resource. And so with that requirement from 5-6 years ago still not being satisfied, we're wanting to see a successful RFP. So that's part of the reason for asking the company to consider interviewing with the 21 interested parties and to think about how they might be able to update the RFP in order to have a successful request. So we're wanting to see more demand response. I think I would be a little bit hesitant to make a legal opinion on whether or not they're in violation.
Okay, so then, well, let me ask you this then. So just so that I can fully wrap my arms around this issue, would it be fair to say that, let's say that the commission or the hearing examiner were to determine that maybe there wasn't sort of an outstanding order that PNM was sort of forced to comply with, you would still recommend that that they, I guess, procure this for the policy reasons in your testimony? Would that be fair?
That would be fair.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So most of my questions relate to the recommendation that you have to reconsider the discount rate. So some of my questions will be this portion of your direct testimony is on starts on page 17 and then goes to page 19. So just a few questions about that. Let me start with this. So your recommendation, as I understand it, would have PNM no longer use its weighted average cost of capital and instead use the 15-year mortgage rate that I guess New Mexico Gas Company used in their most recent energy efficiency proceedings. Is that right?
That's correct. Or
Okay.
some similar ratepayer discount rate. I believe Gas Company is the ratepayer discount rate that Gas Company has used is taken a couple different forms over the years. So if the company were to put forward a particular recommendation that was sort of more from that ratepayer perspective, could be open to those. But the 15-year that gas company is using as a result of their most recent would be one that I think we would be open to.
Okay. And so the difference, just I guess in those numbers, PNM's WACC is 8.54%, and the rate that you're sort of recommending, or at least it sounds like the rate you're open to, would be lower than that at 4.91%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And am I also correct that if your recommendation was adopted by the commission in this docket, this would have the effect of increasing the UCT value of PNM's portfolio?
Yes, I expect that the lower discount rate recognizes sort of long-term benefits. Energy efficiency has sort of a long tail of benefits that get quickly discounted with high discount rates like the WACC. And so a ratepayer discount rate with a lower number, you would expect to see the cost effectiveness increase. That could have a couple of implications. With a more cost-effective program, there's more headroom to be able to contemplate how you manage the programs. With that larger headroom, you might be able to offer potentially more generous rebates and still find that they're cost effective. You might be able to do just more innovative things that when using WACC would result in sort of the cost effectiveness being tested. But when utilizing a discount rate that more appropriately reflects sort of the ratepayer investment decisions and also the long life of energy efficiency measures, you would expect the cost effectiveness to increase and would allow for a little bit more sort of dynamic management of the program.
Okay, so let me just ask one clarification to what you just testified. So are you saying that if your recommendation was adopted, it would allow some programs or at least some measures to be funded through the portfolio that might otherwise not pass the UCT? Is that what you're testifying?
It's possible. The portfolio is currently passing the UCT. I think they have UCT ratios in the 1.2 to 1.3. But if you were to use a different discount rate, I think those numbers would climb. I don't know if they would get to 2, but you would have just more headroom to be able to manage the program differently and make potentially different decisions.
Okay. Now, have you run the numbers exactly on what this lower discount rate from gas companies' case would do to the WACC, or not the WACC, due to the UCT for PNM's portfolio?
I haven't.
Okay. Okay, just a couple other questions. Now, on page 17 of your direct testimony, you state that CCAE has been consistent over the years in essentially suggesting this recommendation. Is that a reference to PNM's previous energy efficiency docket?
It is, yes.
Okay. And my understanding in that docket is that the commission did not adopt this recommendation in that case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And for that reason, you rely on the gas company case.
That is certainly one of the reasons to bring it up. Yep.
Okay. Did you testify in the gas company case? And I guess just for the record, I think that's case 25-00061-UT.
I did not.
Okay, but you're familiar with that case?
I'm familiar, and I believe the ratepayer discount rate has even been used by gas companies since 2019. So I think I pointed to a handful of past proceedings.
Okay, so it's been used in several previous gas company dockets.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Looking to this most recent one, this 25-61-UT, am I correct in that that was not a contested issue in that docket? And by that, I mean that there was no objection from any party as to gas company's usage of it. Am I right about
I
that?
don't believe there was any objection to the use of a ratepayer discount rate.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to scroll through my questions and make sure I have everything. Thank you, Mr. Alatorre. I don't believe I have any further questions for you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krankamp. Next in the order of cross-examination, we have Water Authority, and Mr. Herman, you reserve 20 minutes with Mr. Alatorre. If you're prepared, you can go ahead.
I don't think I reserved 20 minutes, but regardless,
You
I'll be
reserved
done.
10 minutes. My goodness. You reserved 10 minutes with Mr. Alatorre, but if you need 20, you can take them.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Alatorre. My name is Keith Herman. I'm an attorney with the Water Utility Authority. I don't believe we've met before. Correct me if we have.
I don't believe so. Good to meet you.
Perhaps we've been CC'd on the same email list. I have some brief questions. Some of it's been covered by Mr. Krankamp, but can you tell me what you reviewed in preparation for your testimony today?
For the written testimony?
No, for your oral, for your, let's say for your testimony and for hearing today.
Sure. So for my testimony, I reviewed the application and all of the testimonies from the company, as well as the exhibits. I also went on a bit of a scavenger hunt, sort of chasing down some of the previous decisions and testimonies in the PNM EELM cases past, to even learn about some of what we've discussed today of the unsatisfied demand response obligation. And then in preparation for today, I also reviewed the rebuttal testimony of PNM's witness, Reedon.
Were you, or are you also familiar with the Efficient Use of Energy Act?
I am, yes.
And that's New Mexico's Efficient Use of Energy Act.
Correct.
Thank you. Were you present for my cross-examination of Mr. Reedon this morning?
I was watching on the YouTube stream.
Okay. I didn't disagree with anything he said, but he didn't answer one of my questions. He said he didn't know about the impact of increased demand response or energy efficiency programs on the company's risk profile. Do you have any response to that question or any opinions with respect to risk that is either increased or reduced by energy efficiency programs?
Are you talking about risk in terms of planning or energy availability, or I guess, would you be able to define risk a little bit more for me?
Let me rephrase that question. Mr. Reedon testified that, they might not have to invest in peaker plants. Do you recall that?
I do, yes.
Is it your opinion that risk is minimized if they don't have to invest in peaker plants?
I would agree with that, yes.
Another thing Mr. Reedon testified to was that there were benefits strictly for planning purposes associated with energy efficiency. So as it pertains to resource planning, would you say that the risk is also minimized there for energy efficiency due to the implementation of energy efficiency?
Yeah, both energy efficiency and demand response, being able to have a firm capacity in the demand response portfolio would reduce the amount of other generation or supply side resources necessary.
Is there anything else you could think of that energy efficiency might attribute to reducing utilities risks in the other areas?
I mean, operational costs, depending on the you mentioned peaker plants. We know that the fuel costs are incredibly variable, dynamic, uncertain. Sometimes they're high. Being able to call on demand response or implement energy efficiency in order to avoid some of those costs would all be a benefit. Yeah.
Is there anything you can think of that might increase risk to the company for implementation of energy efficiency?
I think perhaps the only thing would be an overestimation of the firm capacity. The demand response has to show up, and so being able to sort of have data on whether or not the demand, the capacity reductions that are expected, actually materialize. That's one of the reasons that I recommended more frequent and frankly just utilization of the demand response resource, and frankly just growing the resource. At the I believe right now it's a firm capacity of 35 megawatts, even though the company expects to be able to achieve more. It's been pretty anemic growth in the last handful of years. The more that grows, the more benefit it has on that planning side. The more of a firm capacity that is able to be relied upon, the more benefit it has for ratepayers and for the system. At 35 megawatts, I think the smallest peaker plant in PNM's sort of portfolio of supply side resources is 41 megawatts. So 35 might not have been enough to avoid the building of that. If you grow that, then we're starting to get to an amount that's actually being able to displace. And I recognize that we can think in margins lower than that. But as we look around the region, SWEEP works in 5 different states. APS, for example, they have 5x the size of their sort of virtual power plants, specifically their thermostat demand response program in the last 5 years, and they're looking to 5x it in the next 5 years. By 2030, they're looking to have a resource in the size of 1 gigawatt. And when we get to sizes like that, we're starting to really have incredibly beneficial impacts on the system. And to Mr. Reedon's point, really being able to displace the sort of acquisition of supply side generation resources.
I'm just going to check with my notes and see if there's anything else I have for you. Just one last question. If the commission were to adopt your recommendation with regard to the discount rate, do you think that would still be financially attractive to the utility to use to implement energy efficiency programs?
I think so. Yeah. As mentioned, it would demonstrate that the likely impact would be that the cost effectiveness would increase. So they would be able to, I suppose, continue to justify that investments in energy efficiency are cost effective, that they benefit ratepayers.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Alatorre, I had one question for you, but it was covered by Mr. Kreincamp, so I don't have any questions for you today. Ms. Lynch, do you have any redirect for your witness?
I do have a few redirect questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Alatorre, the first set of questions take us back to the cross that was that Attorney Atencio had asked you. So I just want you to go back to some of those, to that memory of him asking those questions. His set of questions referred to the culmination of an RFP being a contract. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Do you know if other utilities have successfully contracted for DR programs?
Yes, many.
Can you provide examples of utilities having successful DR programs?
I've already mentioned APS, though I don't know if that one was strictly a contract. But certainly, I think at this point, Tesla has something like 30 virtual power plant programs, and utilities are contracting with them. Renew Home, I believe, is a provider of either virtual power plant or demand response programs for dozens of utilities across the country. And there are a number of other providers as well.
Thank you. And in your opinion, why didn't PNM's RFP result in a single contract?
I wasn't around, so some of it is, I guess, a little bit forensic. I did read the independent monitors' final DSM report, and they had a handful of recommendations. One of them being to interview the 21 that demonstrated interest to figure out what their specific hangups were. I do believe Mr. Reedon mentioned that perhaps it was too broad and that some of the more successful demand response RFPs have perhaps been a little bit more narrow in scope and maybe asking for something specific. I believe that was a recommendation or an observation by the independent monitor. And if I were to re-review the independent monitor's final report, I believe they were commenting on successful DR RFPs that have happened and sort of what some of the characteristics behind those. So I would look to review those. But there's also that interest in recognizing that some of it might be specific to PNM territory and conditions on the ground. So that might be one of the reasons to consider actually interviewing the 21 that demonstrated interest.
Okay, great. I have one other question that could lead to others. This refers back to the questions that Mr. Herman was asking you. And he posed some questions around risk. Do you remember that?
I do.
Specifically, I think he was asking questions about DR and what might contribute to the risk that DR may not, and your words were, show up as firm capacity. Can you elaborate what you meant there?
Sure.
By
I
DR
guess,
not showing up as firm capacity?
yeah, I guess I would point to the sort of parallel integrated resource planning that's happening when and so PNM's going through that simultaneous to this. And, I think one of the acronyms is something like, what is it, ELCC, effective loss of load carrying capacity or something. And essentially, there are these values that are placed on different resources in terms of like how sure you are that they'll show up, or if it's rated at 100 megawatts, maybe you have to sort of reduce it for planning purposes. And so for DR, even if you might see this in some of the contracts where the company is expecting more than 15 and 20 megawatts, but what is sort of contracted as firm where there are consequences are 15 and 20 megawatts. So they've been sort of downrated in order to say, even though we're expecting 60, we're only going to, for planning purposes, say 35 are going to show up. So it's important to sort of have a good sense of your resource, and you can apply sort of these coefficients and say, you know, we've seen this around the country, but if you never utilize the resource, you're not really sort of testing that, I suppose. And you're also not growing it, right? It's been pretty anemic, as I mentioned. But you know, when we look around the country, those that are robust, that are growing, you're trying to incentivize participation. You're trying to compensate customers for the value that they're providing to the grid. And I know Mr. Reedon mentioned the $25 sort of flat, you know, thanks for participating this year. That's not, in my opinion, going to be spurring a lot of customers to sign up and to grow the resource. The resources that we're seeing grow, whether it's DR or whether they call it virtual power plants, you know, they're aggressively trying to enroll more customers, and they're contemplating the dollars per kilowatt value provided. And I know you talked to Mr. Bodie, who was even being able to start to think about the avoided cost of transmission and distribution, and that could all be rolled into sort of a compensation structure for customers to participate in DR programs, to be able to, you know, perhaps create a season and say, you know, if you participated in 10 events and this was your average sort of benefit that you provided to the grid, you're not just going to get, you know, a $25 sort of flat fee. Perhaps there's, you know, a number, well, I'll just say 100 per kilowatt that you provided to the system on average. That begins to be something that's a little bit more compelling to customers, and is the way that, you know, virtual power plants are starting to grow around the country. So these are some of the things that, you know, by not utilizing it, just kind of letting it sit on the shelf and be a little bit dusty, you know, we would like to see a program that is really trying to incentivize participation, is going in a direction for appropriate customer compensation, is trying to grow to an amount that can really provide value on the planning side as well as just day-to-day operations.
Okay, so in your opinion, where DR has successfully been implemented, any risk associated with DR has been mitigated, correct?
Largely, yeah. I think those programs, you're able to see what's showing up when, and that certainly helps with the planning process and the risk that we were talking about there.
Okay, thank you. Those are my follow-up questions. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Council, does anyone have any limited follow-up questions based solely on Ms. Lynch's redirect?
Nothing from staff, Madam Hearing Examiner. Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. Hearing nothing, Mr. Herman? Thank
No.
you. All right. So if my chart is correct, Mr. Alatorre was the last witness. So that concludes the evidentiary portion of today's hearing. Thank you all the witnesses for being here and for council being here today. Mr. Tencio, I don't believe that PNM requested an expedited transcript in this case. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Okay, and that's fine. So as far as briefing goes, I'm inclined to just go with the normal timelines unless any council has a compelling reason to shorten those. Didn't think so. And I will be getting a briefing order out likely very early next week. There are a couple of areas that I'd like to get some legal analysis on, in addition to whatever council, you know, wants to brief. So I expect I'll get that out likely Monday or Tuesday. If there are no other matters, Mr. Herman?
Yes, Madam Examiner, just I'm going from memory. The briefing schedule is based on when the transcript's uploaded.
Yeah.
There's been some issues with PRC 360, so can your briefing order include official deadlines for briefs, or just on the off chance we aren't notified of something being filed, or
What I can do is if the issues have not been resolved at the point that Ms. Ashkoyman gets the transcript uploaded, I will have Ms. Kippenbrock send out a courtesy email to all of the parties, letting them know that the transcript is available at that time, and that'll kick off the timelines for the briefing schedule. Would that be acceptable?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Atencio?
Thank you. Just a couple of final housekeeping matters. We will be uploading the corrected version of Mr. Casa's testimony as soon as we can connect with Ms. Kippenbrock and get that taken care of. I was not able to get a firm answer on the question regarding the numbers in Mr. Reedon's tables versus Mr. Alatori's table. Would you like us to continue on that, or did you want to issue a bench request on that? But either way, we'll get you an answer.
For the sake of clarity of the record, I'm going to issue a very limited bench request. Having you clarify that for me, and then also clarify whether the attendees for the 2025 presentation are something that PNM has and whether it can be provided. I'll get that out. It'll be very simple and straightforward, just to make sure we have everything on the record, if that's acceptable.
Yes, great.
Thank you. And Ms. Lynch, same thing. I wanted you to just check and make yours is somewhat more simple. Just check your numbers against PNM's and make sure that it was a direct copy and that the error, didn't occur in the translation between the two charts. Assuming that it is not that, I don't need to see anything from you.
Well, we already did that check, and I can share the table that was used if that's helpful.
Can you just confirm that the numbers are consistent between the two tables?
The numbers are consistent.
Okay, I think that's adequate. So then, Mr.
Okay.
Atencio, I'll focus on that with you in the bench request.
Understood.
All right, and I'll connect you with Ms. Kippenbrock after the hearing to get the revised testimony uploaded. Is there anything else that we need to discuss?
Nothing from staff, Madam Hearing Examiner. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And we will adjourn this hearing. Everyone have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.